This is Local Legends with your hosts, Cameron Clovis, Jordan Erb, and Justin Boyer.
Hey guys, welcome back to our 5th episode of Local Legends. I'm your host, Jordan.
And I'm Cameron.
And I'm Justin.
We're going to start off with some game time. Our first category is we got some college football picks. We got number 14 Arizona versus number 12 Oklahoma. Looking at this game, Arizona is a pretty decent Pac-12 team. They beat Washington State pretty good on their homecoming game. So I think I'm going to pick Arizona over Oklahoma in this game. I haven't seen much of Oklahoma, but I think Arizona is just gonna beat them a little bit easier.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Jordan. Arizona really did whoop WSU this year, and that was a pretty sad game for everybody up in Pullman. But I still think I'm going to pick Oklahoma on this one. They've had some good wins this year, and they might not have been quite as good as people anticipated. Were they originally in the top 10, but I still think they're a pretty good football team, and I think they'll be able to squeak this one out against Arizona, but I think it's going to be a really good game.
On this one, I'm not really sure. I mean, they're two good teams. Arizona really, like Cameron previously said, they killed WSU at their homecoming. It was kind of sad. And then Oklahoma, they've been on a roll. They've been doing well, so I don't know. This one's going to be tough. I think I'm going to go with Oklahoma on this.
Alrighty, so our next game we got number 2 Washington versus number 3 Texas.
This one, I'm going to go with UW. I mean, granted, that when they played WSU, it was a lot closer than it should have been, but Washington, they've bounced back, and I think it's great to have a Pac-12 team in the top 4 finally, and I think they're just going to go take it to Texas. I think they're going to win.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you on this one. You know, Texas, they beat Alabama earlier in the season, who's, in the college football playoffs, but they've just played really good recently. A lot of people thought that Oregon was going to win the last game between Washington, but Washington ended up showing up, and they played a really dominant game. So, yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree with you, Justin. I think Washington's going to pull this one out, but I think this is going to be an awesome game.
Yeah, kind of like Cameron said, I'm going to agree with you guys. I was actually one of the people who thought Oregon was going to beat UW last time they played, but Washington ended up pulling out that win against a top 6 team in the nation, and I think that they have the consistency and the ability to beat those really good top 10 teams in the nation. So I think Washington's going to beat Texas in this game. Our last college football game, we got number 1 Michigan versus number 4 Alabama.
Yeah, I'll start this one off. You can wait. I'm just going to go right off the bat. Give me Michigan. They're the best team in college football. I'm a Michigan fan, just like I am a WSU fan. I love Michigan, and yeah, I think this is their year to win the Natty, and I honestly think they're going to do it. I mean, Alabama's a really good team, and you never want to count Nick Saban out, but yeah, I think it's just Michigan. They're just so good this year, so diverse, and they've got just so much depth and just speed and athleticism. I just don't see how any team this year can beat them.
Yeah, I'm going to take my turn now, and I think that number 1 Michigan is going to beat number 4 Alabama. I think J.J. McCarthy is just going to lead this team to a big win there, and I think he's going to put them in the national championship game and have a shot for the national championship.
This is one where we all agree. I go Michigan over Alabama. Like Cameron previously said, you can never count Nick Saban out. He's always got multiple tricks up his sleeve. He's been doing this for so long, but still I think Harbaugh, he's going to go bring it to him. He's going to put the pedal to the metal. He's going to floor. He's going to go 100%, and I think he's going to pull it out.
All right, so our next category is we got some college basketball picks. We got number 5 UConn versus number 10 Gonzaga. This is going to be a really great matchup tonight in the Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle. I'm a huge Gonzaga fan, and seeing Gonzaga lose to UConn in the Elite 8 last year in March Madness was a little upsetting. I think last year Gonzaga had a great chance to win it all, but I think Gonzaga is going to bounce back, and I think that they did struggle a little bit against UW, but I think that was more motivation for this game coming up against UConn, so I think they're going to be able to pull it out and going to beat UConn tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you, Jordan. I'm absolutely biased in that I'm also a absolutely huge Gonzaga fan, and it definitely hurt seeing them lose last year to UConn, but I just think that gives them so much more motivation to beat UConn this year. I think they're on their revenge tour. I think they're going to go out, they're going to have a really dominant game, and especially after their performance versus UW, even though it wasn't their last game, but their second to last game, they honestly played pretty bad. They were pretty sloppy with the ball, a lot of turnovers, but Mark Few, I'm sure he was absolutely fired up after that. I'm sure they had some really intense practices, so I think now they're going to be able to make a switch, and I think they're going to pull this out.
I agree with you too. I'm a Gonzaga fan, and I would like to see them go over and beat UConn.
Our next matchup, we got number 1 Arizona versus number 3 Purdue.
I'll start this one off, and this is a tough one, but honestly, I think I'm going to have to go with the upset and give it to Purdue. I mean, Arizona, they're one of the only left undefeated college basketball teams, and Purdue has lost, but I mean, honestly, I think I just want to see the upset on this one. I like Arizona because of Tommy Lloyd, and he used to be, a former assistant coach at Gonzaga, but I think Zach Edey, if he comes out and has a super dominant game, I don't see how Arizona could stop it. I mean, they have Umar Ballo, but I just don't see them stopping Zach Edey if he has a dominant game. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the upset and give me Purdue on this one.
I'm gonna disagree with you, Cameron. I think number 1 Arizona is gonna beat number 3 Purdue. Kind of like you pointed out, they have Umar Ballo, and watching him at Gonzaga, he didn't really get much playing time, but what we did see from him was amazing. And when he transferred to Arizona, it was just that opportunity for him to get a ton of playing time and really shine. And I think he's going to be able to handle Zach Edey. If any of you guys watched the Gonzaga versus Purdue game, Anton Watson and Braden Huff and Graham Ike were able to shut down Zach Edey in the first half. And so I think that Omar Ballo can possibly do the same, and I think if he can, then Arizona gets the win in this game.
You know what? Listening to you two, I think I made my decision. I'm going to go with Cameron. He persuaded me more. I think Purdue is going to beat Arizona in this one. I think the upset's going to happen.
All right, our last college basketball matchup, we got number 14 Kentucky versus number 9 UNC.
All right, I'm going to go with the higher-ranked seed, number 9 UNC. I mean, I'm not really a fan of either one, but I think UNC is going to pull it out.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a fan of either of these teams, but I know UNC has struggled a little bit recently in the last few years compared to what they have done in, say, the previous decade. But, they're always a super good basketball program, and I'm not saying Kentucky isn't, but UNC, they've consistently done well, and I think they're always pressured, and they just live up to big games like these. So I think UNC is going to win this one.
I'm actually going to disagree with both of you guys in this game. Kentucky had the number 1 recruiting class last year, and so I think their freshmen are going to be able to pull together a good game, and I think they're going to upset number 9 UNC in this game. Our last category we got is some NFL picks. We got the Cowboys versus the Bills.
Yeah, I'll start this one off, and I am like the biggest Cowboys hater you can find. I just despise the Cowboys, and I don't like anything about them, if I'm being quite honest, but they're doing really good this year. I think they're the second best team in the NFL. And, yeah, I'm just going to definitely go with the Cowboys over this one. I mean, the Bills, they did have a big win over the Chiefs, but, I don't think Chiefs are nearly the same caliber that the Cowboys are. So, yeah, here we go. Cowboys.
I'm going to have to agree with you. I think even though Josh Allen, he's a good quarterback, watching Dak Prescott go against the Eagles, the way they just were able to throw the ball and run the ball, I think the Cowboys are going to pull this one out.
Here we go. I'm actually going to agree with you guys on this one. I think that the Cowboys are going to beat the Bills. The Bills have looked a little rough recently, and so I think the Cowboys they're really getting going on offense. Their offense has been a great point for this team, and their defense has been able to hold up too, and I think they're playing really well, so I got the Cowboys winning this game. Our next game, we got a Monday Night Football matchup. We got Eagles versus Seahawks. I'm a big Seahawks fan myself, and this is a must-win game for Seattle if they still have any playoff hopes. And the Eagles have looked a little bit rough recently, so I'm not sure that the Eagles are going to perform as well as they had at the start of the season. So I'm actually going to pick Seattle to win this game, and I really hope they're going to win this game. And so, yeah, like I said, I'm going to have the Seahawks beating the Eagles in this game.
So I am not a Seahawks fan, and I am going to disagree with you on this one. Even though the Eagles did play a rough game against the Cowboys, I think they're still going to be able to pull this one out against the Seahawks.
Is Geno Smith going to be able to play this next game?
I'm not sure, but Drew Lock did play extremely well last game.
Well, so either way, I mean, I'm still going with the Eagles. Like Justin said, I'm not a Seahawks fan either, so I'm not really biased. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like them, but I'm just not – they're not my team. But, yeah, I just think the Eagles are definitely the better team. The Seahawks they've definitely been struggling recently. I mean, Geno Smith is playing like he was 4 years ago. And Drew Lock did show some good moments for sure against the 49ers, but I just think either way, whatever one plays, I think Jalen Hurts is better than both of them for sure. And I just think the Eagles are better all around. And, yeah, I think they're going to push all over the Seahawks and get this win.
Alrighty, in our last matchup, we got the Broncos versus the Lions.
Yeah, I'll start this one off, and I'm a diehard Broncos fan, so give me the Broncos. However, this game, I mean, I can see us possibly losing this one, even though I think we're absolutely able to beat the Lions. The NFL just released their power rankings, and they have the Lions just one spot above the Broncos. And, I don't think that's true. The Broncos I think they're just hotter recently. They're 5-1, and the Lions have also had a great record recently, but I just think the Broncos have so much momentum and everybody's loving it because they started the season 1-5 that I think they're going to use the momentum and be able to get this win.
And I'm not a Broncos fan, but I'm also not a Lions fan. So this one's tough. I'm gonna go with the Broncos on this one, but I'm a little nervous because Jared Goff is playing surprisingly well for the past years I've seen him play. So I want the Broncos to win, but we will see.
I'm actually going to pick against Cameron's Broncos here. I'm going to have the Lions winning this game. I'm actually starting to like the Lions a little bit. I really like Dan Campbell, and I think he's a really great players coach, and I think that's why everyone likes playing for him. So I think the Lions are picking up a little bit of momentum. They had a little bit of a rough spot recently in the past couple weeks, but I think they're going to pick up right where they left off, and I think the Lions are going to beat the Broncos. For today's episode, I'm going to bring you an interview with Clay Debord, and we're going to have a good conversation, and we'll see you guys later.
All right, see you guys.
See y'all.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Jordan Erb. I'm here with today's guest, Clay Debord.
How's it going, guys?
All right, so our first question I got for you is, where'd you go to school, whether it's high school, college, a little bit about your education-wise?
So I went to high school at a chosen. I graduated in 2011, and then when I was done there, I went to college at Eastern Washington University. Graduated in 2015 with a degree in construction management, Bachelor's of Science.
Nice. So, with a little bit of research, obviously you played in the NFL. What inspired you to play football the most, or who was some of the biggest influences in your life to play football?
Quite frankly, I got hooked on it when I was a freshman in high school. I didn't play junior high, or I didn't play Pee Wee or anything like that. I came to a shows in 2007. Wanted to play ball and instantly got hooked, man. I love the competitiveness. I love the camaraderie in the locker room. It was just kind of a fit. It was just kind of a fit for me. I had the body to do it, and it just kind of turned into first love for me. Yeah.
So this class we're working on, this podcast project, is in Mr. Finkbinder's class, and I don't know if you remember him, but he told us a story where he had said that you weren't going to make it in the NFL as a career. Do you remember that, and did that influence you more to try harder or anything like that?
Quite frankly, I do remember. I do remember something along those lines. I know that the odds are, always stacked against you, especially guys from a small town. It has 1,200 people in it. The 2B school, you're playing against teams. Well, back then we played against teams like Pomeroy and DeSales and whatnot. And it's not really an inspiration, but I'm the kind of person that if someone tells me I can't do something, I'm gonna do my best to prove them wrong and prove them in spite. So
yeah,
I remember the conversation somewhat, but for me that's been almost 15 years, so
yeah,
it's been a while.
So, with starting from high school, then going to college, and then into the NFL, what was your training routine like from college, and was it any different once you transferred to the league, and how did it change or develop throughout those years?
So everything is kind of subjective when you get to that level. In high school, you have your weight period, everything like that. In college, there's kind of a fine balance that you have to have. I mean, there is in high school, but in college it's a little more serious. There's a fine balance that you have to have between being a student and being an athlete. You have multiple classes you're going to. You have weights, you have meetings. You got to make sure you're getting your schoolwork done. You have to make sure you're getting your rehab and daytime, everything like that. So it's a pretty much it's a full-time gig when you're in college, and then when you get to the NFL, it's just that much more. You know, that's your livelihood, that's your career. So that's what puts bread on the table for you and your family. So it's a full-time gig, man. It's 24/7. You got to eat, breathe, sleep, and just live it and indulge yourself and really kind of throw yourself in and saturate yourself with it when you get into the NFL. And everything's a little bit quicker, everything's a little bit harder, and there's no days off. You know, in the NFL, it's the best of the best. It's the top 0.1% of all collegiate football players that even get an opportunity to play on Sundays. You know, so there's really no days off when you get to that level of. I think if I did my math correctly, each team carries 10 offensive linemen. There's 32 teams in the league, so you know you're one of 320 guys that are doing that specific job in the world. So there's really no days off, and everyone's gunning for a spot. You know.
Yeah, so I guess that kind of helps me roll into my next question. You said being a student athlete in college was almost like a full-time job. So how difficult was it being a student athlete? How was it juggling all those academics and then sports at that time?
Well, it really just comes down to discipline, you know, and time management. You know, you have to manage your time correctly when you get there into college. And you have the resources, you have tutors, and you have counselors, and you know, they kind of help get you set up for. Here's when your classes are going to be. Here's when your weights are going to be. Here's when your meeting is going to be. And you have to allow yourself and really stay disciplined and focused during that time to really stick to the schedule, stick to the regime. That's something that I really enjoyed about college and about really truly college, because everything was set out for you. All your time was kind of allotted. Throughout the day, you knew where you were going to be at 6 in the morning, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have a break at some point, but during my breaks, I indulged myself in, I went to the film room, you know, where I was getting rehab or something like that. It's just those little things that kind of puts you over to the next level if you really want to do it as a career. So it's not hard if you have a little bit of basic discipline and just kind of allow your time and time management and really stick to your schedule and make that a priority for yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So I did a little bit of research about you, and I saw that you redshirted your freshman year. Was there anything that was behind that decision, or what happened, like, made you think that you wanted to redshirt your freshman year?
Well, as a freshman, you know, it's different between offensive linemen and skill guys. You know, when I came into college, I was 6'7", 225-pound kid. You know, I wasn't big enough to play on the offensive line. You know, you're going against guys that are, you know, 300, 325 pounds. So I needed that year to put the weight on, to get in the weight room, get strong, get my diet right, and really get my body prepared to be able to play the position at a D1 level. You know, because I was, as a freshman, you know, game 1, game 2, I'm going against second round picks in the NFL draft.
Yeah.
And as an 18, 19-year-old kid, 220 pounds, my body wasn't physically ready to do that.
Yeah.
So it was in my best interest to take a year, put the weight on, do it the right way, and get my body used to carrying that much weight. Going into my redshirt freshman year, I was 315 pounds versus my true freshman year, I was a 225-pound rail, you know?
Yeah.
So I really needed that. That was kind of the decision-making process that went into that. I needed that year to get my body physically ready to go.
Yeah. So, playing in a lot of college games, do you have any memorable highlights or any funny moments from playing in a game?
Yeah, there's definitely a few. You know, I had a front row seat of watching Cooper Kupp, and we all know what he's been doing. A Super Bowl MVP. You know, he darn near broke the record a couple of years ago for receiving yards. But honestly, I think the highlight, there's really two that come to mind. Number one was my redshirt freshman year. And, you know, I'm a local cat. I grew up there in Minnesota. I grew up going to WSU games. And I wound up playing, you know, it's my second start. And I'm out there in Martin Stadium playing against guys that, you know, a couple of years ago I was in high school watching them play. So that was kind of an eye-opener for me. And it was pretty cool. Pretty cool doing that. And I want to say my in-game highlights that really come out. Probably my favorite one was in 2013 when we beat Oregon State. They were ranked nationally at the time, and little old Eastern Washington. We come down there and we beat a ranked team, a top 25 team in the land. So that was pretty cool, man. There was storm the field afterwards, and it was definitely a highlight. I was going against a second round draft pick in that during that game, and he had no sacks, he had no hits on the quarterback, and it was a tough one, but we wound up going in there and beating those guys. So it was definitely on the top 5 list.
Yeah, I can imagine. So when it came from the transition of college to the NFL, I know you were signed as an undrafted free agent. How was that transition from being signed by the Cardinals coming from college?
It just made me that much hungrier. What the draft has 225 guys that they take every year, or 222. I don't know the exact number.
Yeah.
But it just basically just kind of said, okay, all these teams think that 225 guys are better than you. They want to give them more money. They want to, they think higher of them, and some of that may be positional needs and whatnot. But it really put a chip on my shoulder to go in there and say, hey, no, you guys made a mistake. And obviously my career ended a little bit early because of concussions, and it was a personal decision that I made to retire a little bit early. But coming out, I didn't hear my name called on day 2 or day 3 or day 1 of the NFL draft. So it really it irritated me a little bit. Call it irritation, call it putting a chip on your shoulder. But it really just gave me a little extra piece of drive, and wanted to go in there and prove teams wrong that that they made a mistake by not picking me up in the draft.
Yeah. So I know you were on the practice squads of a couple teams. What is that like being on a practice squad compared to like being on the active roster of a team?
So I was signed to. I was active for a couple of weeks while I was in. There's really no difference, man. As a practice squad guy, you do everything that the active roster guys do, but the only difference is that you just don't suit up on Sundays.
Yeah.
You don't travel with the team, or you're still on the sidelines. So if it's a home game, you're staying home if it's an away game. But quite frankly, there's no difference. You're in there grinding. You're getting just as many lifts in. You're giving reps during practice. You're taking reps against the ones and the twos, and sometimes if there's injuries, you get thrown in with the ones, and it's there's really no difference. The pay's different, obviously, but as far as the workload is concerned, there's no difference between a practice squad guy and an active roster guy, other than the workload on Sundays.
Yeah.
But really, when it comes to the work week, everything's the exact same.
So when you're playing in those games, when you're there in person, how different is it from a college setting?
I will say this. It's college. There's a little bit more rowdiness to it. It's not as I don't want to call it tame, but it's just a different feeling. You're in college. You're an 18, 19-year-old kid. You come into the NFL. I was 24 when I went into the NFL because I was 5 years in college. You mature a little bit. It's not quite as you still get that starstruck feeling. Oh wow, I'm in an NFL stadium. I got a star on the side of my helmet, everything like that. But them taking that away. I'm 5 years older than when I was a freshman in college and playing in front of Martin Stadium and UW, everything like that. It's just a maturity level. So when I was in college, everything just seemed a lot bigger. You know what I mean? And when you're at that younger maturity age, everything seemed a lot bigger at that point. Playing in front of 60, 70,000 people over at Husky Stadium or in Austin, it was just a little bit. It was a little bit more overwhelming than going out there. It just kind of felt like old hat when I got into the NFL because I played 50, 60 games in college. I had that experience when I'm first coming into college. the biggest crowd that we played in front of, I think, was like Lynn Ritzville was 700 people. So it was just that little piece of maturity that was really the difference for me.
Yeah, so do you have a favorite venue that you played in between high school, college, or even in the NFL?
Well, I mean, the NFL, you know, everywhere's nice. Those are billion-dollar stadiums, so it's not like there's a huge difference. Personally, my favorite spot that we ever played in was Ogden Stadium. Ogden played the Ducks there in 2015. It's loud, it's rowdy, the fans are right on top of you. You know, it's just a different environment, man. You know, and they love their Oregon football, and it was just a very surreal environment being in that. You know, growing up watching those Oregon teams back in the day with like Dennis Dixon and little Michael James and all of those guys, and then being a guy that actually goes out there on the field playing against a guy like a DeForest Buckner, or, you know, I could name drop all day, but it was just that kind of that feeling of wow, you know, I used to watch this when I was a kid. Now I'm one of the guys out here. Kids are watching me do this, but Austin was definitely that stadium where I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. This is surreal that I'm out here right now.
Yeah. So you talked about being a teammate with Cooper Kupp, and so my next question is, do you have a favorite teammate from college or NFL or any of those years you played football?
I will say this. I wouldn't say I've got a number of favorites. You know, when I was getting recruited, I went on a junior day visit from up to WSU, and the defensive coordinator up there, he said something that really stuck with me. He said, your boys in high school are your boys right now. Your boys that you play college football with are the guys that are going to be in your wedding. And it's really true, you know. I got married in 2017, and 90% of my groomsmen party are all my college teammates. So there's a number of guys that, stuck with me and that I still talk to daily. I still talk to a couple of guys from high school, but overwhelmingly, the guys that I have for life are really from my college days. And those are the guys that are, you know, I talk to every single day. I'm still in group chats with. They were the guys at my wedding. They're the guys that, you know, when my kids were born, they were the ones that were calling and saying congratulations. My kids call them uncle and whatnot. So I got about 10 guys that I really keep in touch with from my college days. So not to name any names, not to be long-winded, but I got about 10 guys that are really close with.
Yeah. So one last question. Since being out of the league and transitioning to like a day job, how has that been, and what are you doing since you got out of the league?
So I bounced around a little bit after I got out. I worked in law enforcement for a little while, and I worked in the heavy machinery world for a little while. Now I've kind of found my niche in cable. I work with I'm a maintenance tech for Spectrum, so I go out and work on the power poles and everything like that. As for transitioning out, it's just kind of it's something that they don't tell you. They don't prepare you for life after football. So that's something that you kind of have to figure out on your own. And I've done it with the help of my wife and whatnot. I kind of found my niche and bought a house, and we're doing adult things these days. And but yeah, it was a good transition. I miss I'll tell you what, I miss the money, and I miss the day-to-day camaraderie of the NFL and of playing college football and everything like that. And that's something that I will always miss about it. But I do enjoy the kind of the ambiguity and a little bit of being anonymous of working, just a regular 9-to-5 job. There's no spotlight on you, everything like that. It's kind of fun. I enjoy a little bit of ambiguity and staying out of the spotlight from when I was a younger kid.
Yeah, well, that's all I got for you today. Thank you again for joining us.